All right, buckle up because today we're diving deep into some seriously fascinating territory. We're talking shamanism, altered states of consciousness, maybe even a little extraterrestrial intrigue sprinkled in. And let me tell you, the research you've gathered for this deep dive, it's got me hooked already.
Well, it's clear something about these topics speaks to you. That desire to explore, to unravel the mysteries that lie beyond our everyday understanding.
Absolutely. And our guide on this journey is Dino de la Bra. He calls himself a shaman, and based on the excerpts you found from the Spanish language podcast, his life story is anything but ordinary.
You know, it's funny how the word shaman often conjures up those classic images. Someone in a remote village communing with spirits in ways most of us wouldn't even recognize.
Yeah, but Dino flips that script completely. He started as a total skeptic, fully immersed in the world of UFO research. Hard evidence, scientific approach, that was his thing.
Which makes his eventual shift into shamanism even more intriguing. It's like he was searching for something out there in the cosmos, only to discover that the most profound journey starts from within.
Okay, so let's break this down a bit. Dino talks about a pivotal moment back in '97 at a UFO conference. He had this encounter with a group he refers to as gypsies, and they basically laid out his future, told him he'd become a major force in the world of consciousness exploration.
Talk about an epic case of synchronicity. I mean, the guy's already neck-deep in unexplained phenomena. His mind is primed for extraordinary possibilities, and bam, this encounter throws down a marker, almost like a challenge to explore his own untapped potential.
And it makes you wonder how these seemingly chance encounters can have such a ripple effect on our lives. Like, this meeting with the gypsies really seems to have planted a seed in Dino's mind, even if he didn't fully grasp it at the time.
Absolutely. And here's where things get really interesting. Over the next few years, Dino encounters this string of individuals who become his teachers. But it's not random, you know. Each encounter seems to build upon the last, almost like a meticulously orchestrated apprenticeship for his soul.
It's true, there's a definite pattern there. First, there's Maria Rosa, a healer who introduces Dino to the power of energy work, of intention. He's like the foundation, showing him the power he already possesses within.
Then comes Mario, an Aztec dancer. He guides Dino through these ancient rituals, really emphasizing the significance of sound, of vibration. Mario's the bridge to ancient wisdom, grounding Dino in practices that connect him to something much larger than himself.
And then things take a turn for the downright mystical with Shake. This figure appears out of thin air, speaking in riddles, claiming to be a representative of some ancient mystical school. It's like a scene straight out of a movie.
And you know, each of these figures, Maria Rosa, Mario, Shake, they seem to embody different facets of this spiritual exploration. Healing, tradition, esoteric knowledge. It makes you wonder if there's an inherent progression to awakening, like a journey that unfolds in stages as we're ready to receive it.
Dino's story certainly seems to suggest as much. It's as if by following his curiosity, by being open to these encounters, he was being guided toward his destiny, one step at a time.
Makes you think, right? How can we be more attuned to those opportunities in our own lives? How often do we dismiss those seemingly random encounters as mere coincidence when they might hold a deeper meaning?
That's a great question, and one I definitely want us to keep in mind as we go further into Dino's story. Speaking of which, you had some questions about the third eye and how it connects to all of this. Ready to dive into that?
It's wild how shamanism and the paranormal seem to get tangled up together so often, especially that whole seeing ghosts thing. That's going to be on a lot of people's minds when they hear about this stuff, right?
Definitely. I mean, is there a connection there? Is that what Dino's getting at with this whole third eye awakening?
A lot of people wonder about that, and Dino's actually pretty upfront about it. He makes it clear that chasing spooky thrills, that's not what genuine spiritual exploration's about. He actually warns against it.
Okay, so no ghost hunting then. But really, what's his take on the third eye? Because it seems like a pretty big deal.
He's really big on balance and being prepared. It's like anything else. You wouldn't just like jump in the deep end without knowing how to swim, right?
Good point. So walk me through it. What exactly is this third eye thing, and what's the deal with the pineal gland?
So the third eye is often linked to the pineal gland, this tiny gland right in the center of your brain. And we're not just talking about some mystical idea here. This is real deal biology. A physical gland that's captivated scientists and mystics for, like, centuries.
All right, so there's actual science involved, not just some esoteric concept. I'm with you so far.
Right. And this pineal gland, it produces melatonin, which we know regulates our sleep cycles. But some researchers believe it has a much bigger role in consciousness, particularly when it comes to things like intuition, creativity, maybe even psychic abilities.
Hold on, are we talking full-blown ESP here? Because that's where I have to tap the brakes a bit. Skeptical side kicking in.
Not necessarily about suddenly developing superpowers or anything. Think of it more like expanding your awareness beyond your five senses, like tapping into a deeper understanding of yourself and the world around you.
Okay, that makes a little more sense. But how does that expansion of awareness actually work? How do you make that happen?
Well, Dino talks about the third eye like a doorway to these deeper levels of consciousness. He even describes this activation process he uses to help people access its potential.
And this is where things get really interesting. He tells this story about a radio host who had this crazy out-of-body experience live on the air while Dino was working on him.
Yeah. Can you imagine? You're just trying to get through your show, maybe play a few requests, and suddenly, bam, you're catapulted into another dimension.
I don't know about you, but I'd probably drop the mic and make a run for it.
Yeah.
But it does raise the question, if these abilities are inside all of us, are we all just walking around with this uncapped potential just waiting to be unleashed?
That seems to be Dino's belief. He suggests humanity has been deliberately disconnected from its full capabilities. He even brings up that biblical story, the Tower of Babel, as an example. You know, the one where humans try to build a tower to reach the heavens and their languages get all scrambled as punishment.
Right, it's like a warning about the dangers of reaching too high, of a unified consciousness being seen as a threat.
Exactly. And Dino even connects it to modern society, suggesting that the food we eat, the technology we're bombarded with constantly, even the information we consume, he thinks it's all designed to keep us distracted, divided, and operating way below our true potential.
Whoa, okay, hold on. Are we venturing into conspiracy theory territory here? That's a pretty bold statement.
Well, let's not jump to conclusions. We don't have to buy into full-blown conspiracies to acknowledge that there are forces out there trying to shape our perceptions, influence our behavior.
That's true. Think about advertising, social media, all the ways we're constantly being influenced. It's a lot to unpack.
It really is. And maybe that's the takeaway here. To be more mindful, more aware of the things that might be subtly influencing our consciousness, even if we don't realize it.
To take back control, in a sense.
Precisely. To reclaim our innate abilities for critical thinking, intuition, and genuine connection. To recognize that we're not just passive consumers, but active participants in shaping our reality.
I like the sound of that. But how do we actually do that? How do we bridge that gap from feeling disconnected to tapping into this potential Dino's describing? So we've got this idea that we might be capable of so much more than we realize, but then there's the question of how do we actually tap into that? How do we reclaim that power? It's like, where do we even begin?
It's a journey, for sure, not some quick fix, right? But Dino's story, it's almost like a roadmap, isn't it? He went from skeptic to, shaman by following his curiosity, by being open to those teachers and experiences, even when they were strange or unconventional.
So less about seeking some grand awakening and more about cultivating awareness in our everyday lives.
Exactly. Remember those core principles we keep talking about: self-discovery, being open to guidance, challenging our assumptions. These aren't just like new age buzzwords. They're practical tools for navigating life, for becoming more conscious, more aware.
It's like that saying, the unexamined life is not worth living. But Dino's taking it a step further. He's saying there's this whole other level of experience available to us if we're willing to put in the work.
And it's not necessarily about becoming shamans ourselves, right? It's more about recognizing that shamanic aspect within each of us, that ability to connect with something better than ourselves, to tap into intuition and creativity, to heal, to transform.
It's almost like we've been conditioned to think of these things as extraordinary, when really they might be more inherent, more natural than we realize.
Like a seed just waiting for the right conditions to sprout. And maybe by exploring these ideas, by even just entertaining the possibility, we create those conditions within ourselves.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It feels hopeful, empowering.
Right. And Dino leaves us with this incredibly thought-provoking idea. He talks about the potential for a telepathic network of awakened individuals.
Okay, now that sounds like something straight out of science fiction. What does he mean by that exactly?
Well, he believes that by consciously cultivating our innate abilities, things like intuition, empathy, even telepathic connection, that we can actually create this network of like-minded individuals capable of, transforming the world.
Wow, it's a powerful vision, that's for sure. It's almost like we're talking about the evolution of consciousness itself, but on a collective level.
Exactly. Imagine a world where people are more connected, more empathetic, more in tune with each other, with the planet. It's a beautiful idea, and who's to say it's as far-fetched as it sounds?
It makes you think about the power of intention, of collective action. I mean, if even a small group of people can create ripples of change, what could we achieve if we were all like vibrating on a higher frequency?
That's something for all of us to consider. What role do we want to play in this unfolding story of awakening? What seeds of awareness can we plant, in our own lives and the lives of those around us?
That's a question worth sitting with. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I gotta say, I'm feeling incredibly inspired. It's like we've peeled back a layer of the everyday and gotten this glimpse of something truly extraordinary.
And the most exciting part is, this is really just the beginning. The real journey starts now as you take these ideas, these questions, and continue to, dive deeper into the mystery of your own awakening.